From Shabana Mahmood MP on X, break the law, we'll take away the things you love. Now, this is so tone deaf, I assumed it was satire. I genuinely thought there's no way this is real. But turns out that is a real X account, verified, and they followed up with a story on the BBC. Pub and travel bans proposed under sentencing rule changes 23 hours ago on the BBC. So, this raving lunatic really is doing a bit. It's basically a class and race-based attack, isn't it? Because you all know this. You see plenty of Africans on the pitches at football matches, but none in the stands. And it's the same in your local pub. Drinking pints of bitter and going to watch football matches is a white working class hobby, so Shabzy here is attacking the locals. What you gonna do next? Ban me from Greg's? Anyway, before I get into the video, I think I'm so annoyed about this, I'll just let Arnold deal with the problem. Arnold, deal with Shabzy, please.
Some of it was fun.
Okay, you can tell I watched Total Recall last night, can't you? For about the 15th time. Never gets old. But alas, we're on to more serious things, so let's have a read, shall we? Now, the original post here, she did like a mock-up of a season ticket. Honestly, it's unbelievable. It says, break the law, we'll take away the things you love. And it says, standard ticket, your team FC, your band, your favourite team, name, sports-loving criminal, ticket type, band. Brilliant. Love that. Football ticket invalid, Shabana Mahmood. MP for Birmingham Ladywood. Remember when that used to be a nice innocent term for a place, that Ladywood? Took on a whole different meaning in this day and age, hasn't it? But we won't talk about that right now. Let's see what the BBC have got to say about it, shall we? Out of morbid curiosity, look at the clip of that absolute howler. She looks a bit like Bill Cosby, doesn't she? She's got the same sort of baggy eyes. Hence the irony. An absolute geezer bird who's been elected in a place called Ladywood. I mean, I'm just putting it out there. And who draws her eyebrows on? Look at the clip of that. Honestly, I could do a better job of drawing your eyebrows on if I was wearing boxing gloves. Looks like Michael J. Fox drew them on with a lump of coal. Who thinks that's a good idea, drawing your eyebrows on? That never used to be a thing in the 90s, did it? A mate of mine told me he picked a bird up when he was pissed in a nightclub. Thought she was tidy at the time. He said he woke up the next morning and rolled over. She looked like RoboCop with his helmet off. Just like the eyebrows had disappeared overnight. Anyway, let's read the story. People convicted of crimes in England and Wales could find themselves barred from going to pubs and sport matches as part of changes to sentencing rules. Yeah, changes that only affect pasty white blokes from the north of England. Yeah, cheers then. I mean, obviously it affects people in the south and the Midlands, but there's not that many white blokes there anymore, so let's not kid ourselves. Courts imposing community sentences would have the power to hand out driving and travel bans under legislation expected to be introduced next month. So what have I been telling you's coming for the last 5 years? What have I been telling you? It's like the Chinese social credit system. It's the authoritarianism that we all know was coming. We could see it 200 miles away. It stood out like a diplodocus in a yellow shell suit. It was obvious. It's a cross between Orwell and Huxley. That's what they're going to do. Total surveillance all the time and crush you if you go against the state. So you've got no freedom to do any of the things you enjoy. The sentencing bill is likely to also include plans to restrict the use of short prison sentences to ease overcrowding. Again, hammering the people that don't deserve it. The public support long prison sentences for violent criminals and leaving us alone, the citizenry. But what they're doing here is letting violent criminals roam the streets, again, like my last video, a narco tyranny, but smashing you for disagreeing with the state. I guarantee that little Rwandan burglar who let himself into an old lady's house and started throttling himself on the side of a settee, I guarantee he can still go to a football. Well, he probably won't want it, will he? No, he'll be blowtorching a chicken on a shopping trolley behind an illegal eatery as we speak. But you get what I'm saying. The public supports aggressive measures for violent criminals, and they refuse to do that. They'll let them out willy-nilly. But they'll stop you going to watch the football. Mega sensible. Mega sensible. This legislation will implement many of the recommendations made by former Conservative Justice Secretary David Gauke in his independent sentencing review published in May. Courts are currently able to impose limited bans on people convicted of certain offences. For example, someone found guilty of violence at football matches can be banned from stadiums. Yeah, well, again, the public didn't have as big issues with stuff like that because it seemed reasonable. I.e., yeah, okay, if you were at football matches all the time punching people's faces in, then maybe it made sense to not let you go to a football match. But, this is the big but, what's it got to do with you if I go to watch football matches in my spare time, if I get done for speeding or saying the wrong thing on X or putting up a flag somewhere you don't like? Because that's what they're going to do. If they were only banning people from football stadiums for offences committed in football stadiums, I'm sure the public would be like, yeah, that seems somewhat reasonable. But that ain't going to be what they're doing. As I said, I joked about the Greggs ban, but this is what they're doing. If they find out you're a season ticket holder, they'll threaten to have your ticket over you hanging a flag or following Tony Romo on social media. These people are sociopaths. As it says here, the Ministry of Justice wants judges and magistrates to be able to impose these punishments for a wider range of offences, meaning offenders could face additional penalties unrelated to their specific offence. Yeah, unrelated to the specific offence, totalitarian two-step. Thanks very much. Offenders released from prison who are supervised by the probation service could also face similar restrictions as well as more mandatory drug testing, even if they do not have a history of substance abuse. So this is what I'm saying. It's making your life a misery, punitively, like arresting that young kid for having some pasta and doing him for burglary while letting actual African burglars do as they please. Again, this fella didn't get charged with burglary, did he? Nope. Civil offence, apparently, trespassing. So he's allowed to burgle you, but you're not allowed to go and get pasta in a hotel that your taxes pay for. So they send 10 coppers round his house with riot gear just to mess with him, just to put him out, just to inconvenience him. And that's what they're going to do here. You get a bloke like me who's in his 40s, who hasn't done drugs for decades because I'm an old bloke. But if I say the wrong thing on social media and I'm unlucky enough to live in England, they'll go, oh yeah, think you're funny, disagreeing with the state on social media, having a pop at Shabsy. You don't get to have a pop at Shabsy, citizen. How about we make you go and do a piss test 4 days a week, and while you're at it, we'll check your anal cavity for heroin, just for a laugh, 3 times a week. I'll be like, hang on, I haven't done drugs since I was 19. What you doing? Shut up, grab your ankles, and think of England while I go and fetch a constable with particularly large fingers. This is what's going to happen. It's unreal. Some in the hospitality sector voiced concerns about how to implement bans on going to pubs and gigs. Michael Kill, head of the Nighttime Industries Association, said ministers should work with the sector to ensure the scheme does not unfairly burden venues that are already struggling to survive. Well, they want to kill the pubs, don't they? They want to kill them dead, because that's where community used to happen. That's where you met prospective partners. That's where you used to have a social life and a sense of community and happiness and family and friendship and fellowship and joy. So they want to suck the life out of that. They love killing pubs. That's yet another reason they'll have done this. Just one more reason to kill the local community. Because as I keep telling you, they want you miserable, depressed, lonely, on benefits. Because then you do as you're told. The state tell you what to do and you do as you're told. No resilience, no fight, nothing in you. You're just a shell of a man. If you go to the pub and you sit with a load of old blokes and you say, hey lads, you're not going to believe this, they've just smashed my house up because I went to get a chicken pasta and I was mocking the government on social media, well, all the old blokes sat round the tables will go, I wouldn't put up with that if I was you, son. I'd go to the local MP, oh yeah, he meets, he does a surgery once a week. You should go down there and call him a knobhead to his face. Like Simon Clark, yeah, remember when Mr. Bootneck said, go to the local town hall and say, you big, lanky, geggy streak of piss, you've got the neck of 1,000 giraffes. And if it wouldn't upset me granny, I'd march over there and punch your face in live on Question Time, you absolute chopper. You know, that's the type of stuff people talk about in pubs. We talk shit about the scum that lord it over us. So they don't like you going to the pub. They want you in your house, medicated, depressed, shut up and do as you're told. And it's coming, which is what I've been telling you for years. Shut up, get in your 1-bedroom bed sit, watch Netflix and eat the cricket paste. This is what they want for us. And then look, in the same story, the government began releasing thousands of inmates early as soon as they came into power, saying they inherited a prison system from the Conservatives that was on the brink of running out of space. So let them all out. And let them out they did. They let out violent criminals and killers and kiddie fiddlers so they could make space for people like you and people like me and people like Lucy Connolly who say mean things about government ministers. Meanwhile, 20 Marleys are bouncing on your granny's shitbox, but they haven't got as many issues with that as they have with you saying impolite things about Shabzy on Twitter. The government said limiting offenders to a geographical zone policed by tougher monitoring and enhanced tagging would give victims greater peace of mind. No, you know what would give us greater peace of mind? Not letting out the diddlers early, not walking out of Aldi. That was a famous story. Do you remember that one? Man jailed. Oh, sorry. This is a different foreign Mr. Jabbar here. This was a different imported sex offender that attacked a young girl and then got a slap wrist and he'll be out of jail in 2 years. Sorry, wrong one. Hang on. I bumped into my diddler. Oh, sorry, no, that's a different one as well. Sorry, there's just too many foreign sex offenders for me to keep up with. It's quite difficult to get the story you want. Yeah, here it is. Look, a Yazidi teenager who was sold into slavery by the regulars at Alan's snack bar has told the BBC she escaped to Germany only to come face to face with her captor in the street. Ashwak was only 14 when IS fighters stormed into northern Iraq, marching into the heartland of the Yazidi people, and then took thousands of women as sex slaves, including Ashwak, who was sold for $100 to a man named Abu Humam. Violated and beaten, she managed to escape 3 months later and then ran to Germany with her mother and brother. Next thing, she bumps into him outside Aldi. Can you believe that? He said, I know you. I'm where you live and who you live with. He knew everything about my life in Germany. Amazing. Let's finish on Shabzy's haunting visage, shall we? In fact, I think I better change my branding for this. There we go, that's better. There's the story of the day. Shabzy's going to lean into the Kim Jong playbook and crush everything that you like. This is a racist, hateful, anti-working class set of authoritarian laws ripped straight out of the Chinese Communist Party's playbook. Demolition Man and Huxley and Orwell and numerous other authoritarian dystopian futures. It's awful. It's exactly what you'd expect. Again, a narco-tyranny. Going easy on the foreign diddlers, sex pests, deviants, burglars, machete wielders, but going hard on you. Conquer deep in your dirt box because you disagree with the commie shitbags that run the country. Anyway, that's just my opinion. If you think it's a great idea making 48-year-old plumbers grab their ankles 3 times a week while you search the ring piece for contraband, even though they only got a parking ticket, you let me know in the comments why you think it's a good idea. All right? Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you all tomorrow. Toodle pip. Cheers.